Now, when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into the boat, and went over to the sea towards Capernaum. And it was already dark, and Jesus had not come to them. Then the sea rose because a great wind was blowing. So when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and drawing near the boat. And they were afraid. But he said to them, "It is I. Do not be afraid." And 21. Then they willingly received him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land where they were going. I don't care what you say. Almost, who's that walking on something? Wait a minute now. That's going to put some fear in all of us. Well, who's that? Who can walk on water? Nobody but Jesus. That's why I put you scared. Is that the law? What are you being prepared for? The disciples just couldn't get out of their own way. So, man, I just saw him create all. I just saw him take 2 fish and 5 loaves. I saw all the other miracles prior to that. And now I'm about ready to enter this, and I'm afraid. Well, how you think? So what are you being prepared for?
I'm amazed that even, sometimes myself, you
sit here and I probably read the entire Bible probably 5 times in my whole life, where I've just got in one of them journeys. And when I do it like that, and I just read it all the way through, and then I miss so many nuggets, because you read like you read a book, I guess. But my life's changed a few years ago, and the Gospel Word, when I started going through just the whole book. And it's interesting, because you would sit here and think, like, why would a storm come right after we just had this great celebration? What you think about this? We painted this. They just had this great celebration where they seen this amazing miracle. They were walking with Jesus, and how they were nervous. They weren't going to have enough food. And I've already preached that part of it. And they looked around and said, how are we going to feed all these folk? How can we feed this many people? There's just no way. How can we do this? 2 fish, 5 loaves. How can we feed? You know what I'm saying? So how could this happen? I'm like, man, I was preparing for this. It's been 2 weeks now. I said, man, this is interesting how the Lord works and how he's always trying to get our attention. And that's when you have to be very careful, because when you're riding high and everything's going good and he just saw this great miracle, we get so comfortable. We get so comfortable. And I want you to think, so what are you being prepared for? And I want you to think about how life can come at you so fast. And that's why I shared that in the introduction with you. And I didn't share it yesterday, but God brought me some remembrance. Had 2 or 3 unbelievable days. Since I heard her know, because she was talking to her. Just unbelievable. They all thought things were going to turn. And within 24 to 48 hours, she had died. And you're like, dang, how could this happen? What was the mama going through? What was the special friend? What was the son going through that they just had this great news? Cancer was shrinking, and she was on the uptick. And then within 24 hours, she couldn't breathe. Then we get the news. And I'm on the way to do Lord's Supper, feeling good. And all of a sudden, this is how quick life can come at you. We have no clue. So we're sitting here and they're talking and they're going through and it said, now when evening came, verse 16, now when evening, so all of a sudden they're like, wow, what are my evenings like? Most of the time we done gave the word our best. We done got up in the morning. We done did everything. And evening time is your time, kind of. I'm going to do it. And it's interesting because I want you to think about, what is your evening like? God just give me the gift to make, what is your evening like? And sometimes the kids be quiet, don't want to talk to the wife. You get home, I done talked all day, then I use my mind, then I get in the house, My wife wants some juice. Honey, can just get a second. It just, like, wait, you've been gone 10, 12 hours. You got to work. I ain't had nobody here. I just want to talk to you, see how it's going. What is your evenings like? Well, I always preach it clear. You want to get something? You don't have no time. I need my time. I laugh when we talk about all this stuff. I got to get my time in. This is just about me right now. I need me an hour. I need me 30 minutes. I need me 15 minutes. I need me to, how we go through there before you walk in? Well, you should have shook yourself off in the car. You should have rode around Broadway. You should have went to Walmart or something and just talked to yourself before you walk in the house. And I want you to catch this, because you're going to see what I'm talking about. And his disciples went down to the sea. See, these were normal. What they do, they fishermen, they professional, they get prepared, they get ready to do what they do, and all of a sudden, evening came, they going down, and this is interesting in 17, and got into the boat, and went over the sea towards Capernaum. And it was already dark, and Jesus had not come to them. And this is interesting, because that was the piece. I said, wow. And Jesus had not, wait a minute, we just seen him. We were just hanging out with him. We just fed all these folks. And now where is Jesus now? It just happened. It's been 24 hours. What happened? What changed? Are you following me? Within 24 hours, what changed? They were in the presence of Jesus. They were feeding the folk. They were having a good time. They were celebrating and had something left over. And within 24 hours, look how life can change. So I just asked you in 16 and 17, how do you handle dark situations without Jesus? That's the problem. That's the problem there that the disciples had, that you and I have. How do you handle? It didn't say you weren't going to have dark situations. Amen. And life is going to be full of dark situations. But the question is, how do you handle them when Jesus ain't there? Something got exposed about these disciples that gets exposed about Pastor Smith, that gets exposed about you. Because it's interesting when the situations come that are dark and Jesus is not around, how do you handle it? Oh, I know how you handle it. Come on now. You can put your head down. You ain't got to talk back to me. Oh, I know how you handle it. Cussing, fussing. Come on now. Angry, mad. Come on. Talking about nothing don't mean nothing. So we sat here. Two things I want you to think about in 16. Number one, what is your daily life like? I just need you to look at what is your daily life like? 7 days a week. What is your 24 hours like? I'm going to ask you a question. Is it about praising God or a bunch of foolishness? What is your life full of? Foolishness or spirituality? I didn't know how much time I wasted for years. I had no clue how much time I wasted, and I called it busy. You ain't busy doing nothing. It's just wasteful, being idle, and you wonder why we get ourselves in these kind of situations. Because the disciples know this. Even in my study, they know that on the sea, the waters can turn on a dime. Now, they professional. They know this. You think if I can read this, if I'm a professional fisherman and I'm out here, you ask the truck driver, my mind's going, who's out there on the road all the time, they know how dangerous the highway is. They've seen everything. In the storm, out of the storm, good days, bad days, drunken. Come on, they've seen it all when you're on the highways like that. Come on now. So what do you do? The one thing I've learned about the disciples is sometimes I forget. Guess what? Jesus never leaves us. It's just that we leave Jesus. Jesus never left them. Come on now, he was doing what always doing, but we'll leave him real quick. Because sometimes you look around, you can't see, and then you take matters in your own hand. And guess what I've learned? All you do is make it worse. You make a dark situation darker. Ouch. Been there many times. How I try to, I'll make this work. I'll control this situation. I need to do what I'm going to do. And it got worse. It never got better. It got darker. So this is how life can come at you. So in the background of studying of this, now this looks weird. Unless you study and you know the difference. Said, now when evening came, come on now, this is crazy. Now when evening came, look what happened here. The disciple went down to the sea and got into the boat and went over the sea towards Capernaum, going back, and it was already dark. And Jesus had not come to them. Now 18 changes something. Look at 18 here. This is where all the meat comes from. Then the sea arose because a great wind was blowing. And I stopped by to tell you that you better know in verse 18, you better know the difference of storms. See, some of y'all make every storm a major storm. Oh, I'm going to walk in this thing. The problem is you can't understand your storms. You make everything. That's why some folks, don't ask them. Don't ask them how you doing. Oh, Lord. Some things some things I don't want to know. Some people I've just learned that, hey, give you a hug and go on about your business. Because everything is a storm, and it's a major storm, and before you got out there, your head's hurting too. Oh, my God. The reason why you got to know the difference, number one, is because you treat a small storm and a big storm differently. They're not the same. Said a great wind came and was blowing. Now this is it in the background. The reason why the disciples got afraid, they say this. This storm that came was one of the most dangerous storms that ever hit at that time in that area, and it scared the bejesus out of them because they ain't never known. Now let me say it this way. You're like me. Tornadoes can come. I can be prepared. I can be warned. But guess what happens? If you've not ever been in one, you'll just go on to sleep. You won't lay down. You won't get in the bathroom. You won't do all the stuff they tell you to do unless you've been in one. I know a good friend of mine who was in one that it ripped his roof off, and it scared him. Guess what? As soon as they say tornado storm, he gets all his family in up. Isn't it interesting how he survived it and he don't underestimate it anymore? How many of you go on? I grew up, as soon as it started thunder and lightning, cut all the lights out. Unplug all the TVs. He got laughing. Come on now. God is talking. He gonna get somebody, so be quiet. Don't say nothing. That's how my mama, dang God, you didn't move. We got to hear what God's saying. How I remember, Shabam. What he's saying, mama, shut up. You said it, what he's saying. Because you can see it, it's crazy how the reverence of it, they did fear him, understand it, and it would make us all get all nervous and anxious and and I don't know where all this stuff, and it might be true, but wives' tales have become more important than the spirit. Oh, it's raining and the sun at the same time, devil beating his wife. What's that mean? I don't even, and we tell it to the next generation. Oh, it's raining cats and dogs, and the sun's out. The devil beating his wife. Why we even care about what the devil's doing? But yeah, come on, I want you to catch, because it makes me thinking about storms. All the stuff that happens to us that we go through. I remember the first time as a kid finally understanding you can be on top of Broadway and see it coming.
The wildest thing is you right there, and then you try to run and get on your bike and beat the storm home. I'm trying to get to Magnolia, get in Granddaddy's garage before the storm comes from Lexington Street all the way coming. You can see it coming. So all of these things go through your mind in these type of storms. And they say this one lasted 6 to 8 hours and had become very dangerous for the disciples. You know, and I watch like you. I'm trying to figure out what kind of mind does a storm chaser have in his mind. The people who track the tornado, they out there laughing and calling back and telling you, this is a big one. And I'm like, whoa. The disciples were nervous. They were scared. Everything, the storm was coming. And can you imagine being in a storm that lasted between 6 and 8 hours? Non-stop. That was very dangerous. You know how we lose our mind when the electricity goes out for 30 minutes? Oh, what we going to do? Come on now, all the different things that you're going through and how life comes at you. And we're trying to figure all this stuff out called storms are scary. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that they're not scary. What I want you to understand is but when you got Jesus on your side, whether if it's 30 minutes or if it's 8 hours, you better know who's in the storm with you. What was going on in their minds? It said the storm started that evening, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and continued to 3 a.m. I'm like, they couldn't sleep. They, come on now. They looking around. They trying to figure out, when is this storm going to let up? Come on, brother. You start spending time. When's it going to let up? You're looking out the window. You're peeking out the window. You're seeing all this stuff. You're hearing all these sounds. They telling you. And then they say, the warning lasts until 4 a.m. in the morning. Some of you don't sleep. Some of you stay up the whole time. And it's probably because you might have been in one before. And I asked you this question because what was interesting in this text was the disciples was, does your faithfulness grow or get weak in dangerous situations? We can read them. We saw that their faithfulness got weak. So I'm asking you, we can read with the disciple, what happens to you? Does your faith grow and you know God's got it because it's very dangerous, or does it get weak? Can I depend on you and you depend on me? Because we're dependent on Christ to carry us through this storm. And the last part, who are you really trusting to protect you in the storm? Now, question is this, because we're going to go to the last part, 19, 20, and 21. Go at your back, read those for me. My voice is wanting to go. Preaching yesterday in here, but 19, 20, and 21 is such a beautiful pivot to this. Because you think about this. Now think about this. I just gave you all those questions in 18, 6 to 8 hours, 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm asking you the question, who's protecting you through this storm? Who's covering you? All this anxiety. You didn't rest all night. And you're no good for work tomorrow because your blood pressure's all out of whack. You're going through. Come on, look at all the different things. And why does storm impact all of us so differently? And some of you have been in some storms of life. I heard Sister Tamika say that to you earlier. Drop it off. Let it go. Quit trying to carry it. Quit trying to carry it. Oh, she's in that bed. Quit trying to carry this with you. Drop it off. Leave it. God's got it. He's got it covered. So why you keep trying to figure out something that God has already worked out?
Right.
And we're going home 19 through 21 and watch how this thing starts to change. Man, it was blowing. And then look at 19, 20, and 21. And got a few things. We're out of here.
So when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and drawing near the boat, and they were afraid. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they willingly received him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land where they were going.
What do the storms of life reveal to you? The interesting thing about this is, why wasn't they looking for Jesus? They had to look around and see. Were they so comfortable because they had just left him and he just fed them that they thought everything was going to be okay? But guess what? Guess what I keep learning about myself? You got to learn about yourself. The storms of life keep revealing where you think you are versus where you really are. Listen, I'm going to say it again. All the storms of life do is reveal where you are versus where you think you are. Because I was shocked when I kept looking at this text for the last couple of weeks, because they got nervous and looking around and saying, well, who else? You know nobody else could walk on water. You already know the miracles. You knew this. You knew it had to be Jesus. So why was you afraid to think it was anybody else? Some of you may be like me. The scaredest I've ever been, I'll never forget it, because I don't like riding on ice now. Julius Yeast and myself decided against judgment to leave one day in a 300 ZX. In a 300 ZX, and an ice storm was coming, and we were rolling down, heading to Lexington. Oh, I'm all right. We're going to be good. And hit an ice patch. And spun and spun and spun and spun. And all I can tell you is somehow in the spin we turned and got straight like this, and an 18-wheeler come flying by. So guess what? My fear of storm is about ice. I don't play with ice. Because I've been in one, and him and I this day are still saying, you remember that man? And man, we was just both in there, just shaking, realizing. Because sometimes we think we can do whatever we want to do without the presence of God. And when I look at it, there's no reason why I should have went in a sports car during an ice storm heading to Lexington. That's stupid. Ignorant. Crazy. Whatever term you want to do. And I guarantee that some of you, 3 o'clock in the morning, they out here on this storm. Things are getting out of control. Come on now. You're not thinking right. You're tired. You've been out here 6 to 8 hours. Come on now. Now you're hungry. And then you see somebody walking on water. That we learn to trust Jesus a little more each time. Guess what I've learned about the storm? Just like you, that I learned to trust him a little more each time. Number 2, that Jesus is always watching us even when we don't realize he's watching us. Because remember, he knew everything. He saw it all. And when they was getting ready to throw in the towel, they were scared to death. He shows up, and not only shows up, shows out. In his eyes, don't be afraid. I come to cover you and protect you like I've always done. You think it's Goodyear in the 4 tire, and it's Jesus on the 4 tire. You think it's the motor, but it's Jesus. Come on now. Isn't it crazy we give all the credit to Ford or whatever you're driving? It's Jesus that did not allow the motor to blow up. It's Jesus that did not allow you to run off the road in the storm. It's Jesus that gave you the common sense, not like some other folks when it rained and catching dog, and some folk are still driving like it's dry land. And somehow, some folk pull over, and guess what I've learned? I used to pull over. Now I just slow it down, and I drive real slow. And Cole and I have learned this. 90% of the time, what do? You drive out of it. And you're like, from a distance, it looked like it wasn't going to never stop. So you put your caution light, you put your caution lights on, you drive real slow, and pray that them fools that are driving like it's dry don't cause you to wreck. So I give it all to God. I trust you, God. And before I know it, 15 minutes on down the road, it's as dry as it never rained. Isn't it a beautiful thing how God works? 6 to 8 hours in intense pressure. The storms, the wind. And it said it came out of nowhere. Brother, sometimes you don't know. You just got to be prepared and know that God is going to be with you, because you never know when the storm going to come. We get the phone call. That's why I told you that you never know when you're going to get the phone call. Gene wasn't expecting that kind of phone call. Thank you for being here, brother. You weren't expecting that, 4 o'clock in the morning and talking about your daughter. You weren't expecting that. But God will be with you in that hour. It is a beautiful thing to know the word of God. He said, I'm not going to give you the strength, because you don't need that strength walking around every day. But in that very hour, I will give you the strength to face whatever storm comes your way. And see, if you know the word of God and you're being prepared and you're studying like you're supposed to study, then no matter what comes your way, in that very hour, so quit saying you don't know what you're going to do, because you really do. If you've been studying, you know that God is going to come whatever storm comes your way. So I don't let folk in my presence say, I don't know what I do if I get that phone call. Yeah, you do. You're going to do what all of us do that know the Lord. Now, if you don't know the Lord, you're right. You'll drink, you'll smoke, you'll go out here and go crazy and do everything you want to do. But when you know the Lord, He knows how to calm your spirit. He knows how to calm your soul. Jesus is always ready to help us at a moment's notice. It don't take long for Him. He's everywhere at the same time. You're ready to step in. And let's go home. And guess what? You know what I've learned? That the disciples learned? That I want you to be here ready. They were on their way to Capernaum, which was back home. And guess what I've learned? Jesus is always ready to bring us back home. The storm can carry you through a path. I've heard my wife say it many times, sin to take you to places that you never thought you'd go and keep you there longer than you ever thought you'd be. But I know a God that can come and get you, Samaritan woman, on your sixth man. Come on now. And say, now, drink of me, eat of me, kiss of me, and you won't be chasing no more me, because I've given you everything that you need. Come, isn't it amazing that no matter what storm of life you've ever been through, no matter what you're going through, Jesus is always there, ready in a moment's notice to bring you back home. And I pray today that whoever's going through a storm and you think a storm's too big and you're trying to put a small storm with a big storm, I'm praying today that the day you're an altar call, that you come up here, that you talk to the Lord,